Alright guys, welcome to episode number 7 of Tardis Talk, in which we'll be recapping what happened in the latest episode, the Zygon Invasion, which seen the treaty between humans and Zygons break down, thanks to a rebel Zygon faction that wanted to let Zygons be Zygons. So Elle, what did you think of this week's episode?
I loved it. I think it's possibly one of the strongest of the series. It was another episode that was very dark, and it kind of went in some place which we can gather what they were about without going into it. And it was a really good episode. It kind of didn't even feel like Doctor Who in some places.
It did, yeah. It had that big episode feel. We said this about the opener to the season with the two-parter, and I think this, straight off the bat, it had that kind of big episode feel. Again, it felt another episode where it felt like a finale. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great episode. And the Zygons in general, I just love the fact that anyone could be a Zygon, and we're kind of left to guess whether that's the case or not.
It was a really good thing because literally anyone could be a Zygon, and then it turned out the one person that I, for one, wasn't guessing would be a Zygon was a Zygon.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't expect to see that sort of reveal at the end of it. I thought they'd keep that from her, and I didn't really click on it. I knew something was up with Clara, but I wasn't expecting that, not so early on. I thought maybe that had come in the second part.
It's funny as well because when you watch it back for a second time, it kind of seems so obvious some of the things Clara's doing, and she goes on about wanting to find out where the weapons are to destroy the Zygons or whoever, and it's kind of funny when you start to realise that Clara is changing and she's getting a bit more not violent, but her words are changing, and it's exactly like a Zygon, you could say.
Yeah, she is. She's really changing as well. So we've seen a big sort of change in the way that Clara's acted. She's acted more like the Doctor. And I think in this one, she did act differently, but I kind of felt at the time it was just the way that she was kind of going and the way that her character was progressing. But when you watch it back, it gives you a completely different kind of feel to the episode. And I love these kind of episodes where you do get a reveal and it kind of changes it when you watch it back. Because you just notice so many different things that you didn't pick up on before.
Yeah, and I loved it the first time around, but then going back and knowing what we knew, it kind of made it even better.
Yeah, it really does. It's that kind of Sixth Sense feel where you get the ending and then rewatching it back. It's a whole different take on it. So I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a great episode. I can't wait for next week's.
I think one of the major things for me as well, I can't remember the Zygons from the classic series too much. I remember the designs and everything, but I don't think they really had much to go from the 50th, where in this episode it felt really, really strong. And they weren't as strong as the Daleks or anything, but they felt a really prominent foe.
They did. And when you think that they've kind of infiltrated the UK and they've got so many people there, not just the UK but the world, it's this is a really powerful faction that could really take over the planet. So there's a lot that could go on that could easily take over the place. And like they said, the invasion, it's kind of already took place. And I love the fact that we've got this carrying on from the 50th. There's a lot of things that continued from that. And especially with the opener as well, I like the fact they've done the little recap.
Yeah, I loved the recap, and I did enjoy that it wasn't a brutal takeover. It was more a stealthy approach, and not something you really get from Doctor Who. So I really loved it, and I thought it made the Zygons brilliant. Yeah,
I absolutely loved it. It made them look really strong as well. So I thought it was a great take on it instead of just coming in and invading. That invasion's already took place, and I really didn't expect that. So it was really, really cool to see. So that's kind of our thoughts on the episode in general, which kind of takes one of this week's talking points. So the first one, what's in or what is the Osgood box? What's your take on this?
I think for me, personally, what I took from it, I know a lot of people thought it was going to be a bomb or something, but it's kind of against what the Doctor is and what the Doctor does, and being named after the Osgood twins or whatever you want to call them, and it being called the Osgood box. I kind of think it's going to be a peaceful solution. Maybe it'll be something like the gas that was in the 50th episode where it made the Zygons and the humans not know who was who, so they had to cooperate so they didn't eliminate one another, because it kind of makes sense to just have the Zygons living in peace again.
Yeah, I think that's a really good take on it. It's something that I never really thought about. I always thought the only kind of explanation we got in the episode was maybe that gas that they mentioned where it would unravel the Zygon's DNA. So I thought maybe it could be something like that. But at the same time, being the Doctor, it's going to be like some kind of peaceful resolution, you would think. So what you've just said, I think that makes a lot more sense. And it worked in the 50th, so there's no reason why like that couldn't work in this one as well. But at the same time, if it is what they used in the 50th, you'd kind of expect something a little different for this episode rather than the same thing. But I think that kind of makes a lot of sense. Apart from that, we don't really have too much to go on because they didn't really give much away from it. Whereas I think they're kind of keeping it as a surprise for like this next episode. That's if like Osgood and the Doctor actually survive.
I think like one of the things as well is it's become like, I know we've brought it up before, it's become really, really dark. So I think if it does turn out to be a bomb or something, I think that'll be just as much a shock to people who maybe don't think that it's a peaceful method.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see something like Kill the Moon, where like people have to vote, are they going to kill the Zygon or whatever. Maybe we'll get like some sort of solution like that again.
That'd be really interesting as well, because like when we had Kill the Moon and that happened, like that was a huge thing. Like it was something I was never expecting. And I guess that is something that could kind of work in this situation where they were kind of broadcast and say, you know, this is what's going on. The Zygons living amongst her, and sort of put it up to like the population of the planet to decide. But I don't know about that. I think what you said first, I think I would probably go with that option and like not letting them know if there's Zygon or not, because I think that kind of resolves it all, even if it is something that we got in the 50th. But I really do like that explanation.
I think as well, whatever it is, I think it's going to be like another conflict between the humans and the Zygons, and that was like a really strong theme like throughout the episode, like who was worse, and it even talks about it at the start, like my race is no worse than your race kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think personally that the humans came off too well. They were like killing all the Zygons. Fair enough, the Zygons were killing them too, but it was almost like the Zygons wanted freedom and to be who they want to be.
Yeah, well, it kind of makes sense though. Like, I can understand why the Zygons would want to like be, you know, the Zygons and be how they are, as opposed to like having to fit in and blend in as someone else. So I get that, but I think they're probably just going about it the wrong way. And I could probably see, because we know that it's this like a rogue faction of the Zygons, maybe the rest of them sort of banding together along with Osgood to kind of get rid of that faction and help the Doctor out.
I think as well, if it's anything to go by, like when you saw part of like the base in where I can't think where the Doctor was, but they had like a church and they had like the battle plans, and there was 3 sections. So I'm guessing there's like the Zygon faction that's bad, the humans, and then you could say the nice Zygons.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get like some sort of interaction with the 2 Zygon factions.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll kind of clash, and I think they could be the ones that kind of resolve it, the good sort of side of them, that kind of wipes out the sort of evil side. So kind of speaking on this, and sort of in the section that you mentioned where we're seeing Osgood, what do you make of Osgood in this? Do you think she's human Osgood or Zygon Osgood?
It's weird because like originally when I saw the trailer for this like a while ago and like little snippets, I thought like Osgood looked a little evil. I don't know, there was something like a little off. But I don't know, I part of me kind of helped feel that Osgood's like freedom was like a little too easy. So I think I'm guessing that maybe another Zygon, if Osgood is the Zygon one and not the human one, I kind of think she's been replaced, and the Osgood that's with the Doctor now isn't that Osgood. It's all kind of confusing with all these Zygons.
It is. It's really confusing, but that's the best thing, not known. So do you think maybe Zygon Osgood or real Osgood is being replaced again, and the Doctor's kind of oblivious to this?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, although the Doctor does question Osgood, which is kind of something the Doctor usually wouldn't do. So maybe he's got like an inkling that this isn't the real Osgood and it's a Zygon being the Zygon Osgood.
Yeah, but it was weird, like, at the start of the episode, because we're seeing, like, Kate mention that they didn't know which one was the real one, and then the Doctor was like, they're both the real one. So, like, he didn't really question it then, but then later in the episode, he did question it when he was with her. The only thing I kind of picked up on, and this was before she got captured, so as you say, like it could be another Zygon now, but I noticed that she used the inhaler when she was under the desk, and that kind of says to me that she was the human Osgood, because in the 50th we're seeing a moment between like the two Osgoods where the human version sort of needed the inhaler, and the Zygon one was like, it's okay, like your secret's safe with me. So that kind of gives you the knowledge watching it as a viewer that one was the human one, the other one was the Zygon one. And I think that kind of carried in the episode where if you picked up on that the first time, then you would know that this one was the human one. So that was my take on it. But obviously then getting captured, maybe that could be completely changed again. She is now a Zygon.
See, that's like the really strange thing, and I think you need to be like a hardcore Doctor Who fan to like overlook it. But apparently, if the Zygon clones, you could say, someone else, they get that defect, and then it kind of led me on to think, because I've had the theory of Clara's dying from something. I kind of think if Clara is dying, we're probably going to get some answers for that this week, or if she's ill or something, because obviously Bonnie's now acting as Clara. Uh-huh. And I kind of think that might be like her downfall, that maybe Bonnie will die, or she'll have this whatever Clara's got at like an accelerated speed or something, do you know, just so the Doctor finally gets clarification of what's going on with Clara. It's a huge step, but like I'm just hoping for some Clara info.
That's like a good point as well that you mentioned. So has that been in the past where they've kind of took on the defects of someone?
See, I don't remember it, but apparently so I think we'll just go off that, off the real hardcore Whovians.
Well, if that's like what you're saying, then I think that'd be like quite a cool way to go as well. So like if there is something wrong with Clara, like we've kind of mentioned the last couple of weeks, then that'd be a good way to kind of get that sort of look at what's wrong with her, and if just how it'll kind of play out without actually like playing out in person, and obviously maybe Clara dying if it is like kind of terminal illness.
It'll be interesting to see if like Bonnie has that sort of compassion that Clara has as well. Like maybe that'll like battle within her like as the episode goes on, and maybe she won't be as bad as the Zygon factions. I don't know if that's like something that comes into play when the Zygon takes over someone's like appearance and things.
Yeah. Like one other thing though, like with you mentioning it, I was kind of questioning, why didn't they kill Osgood when they actually like took her? Because they didn't seem to do anything with her. She was just like chained up. And maybe it is a case of, you know, one of them has replaced her and that is a different Zygon, because there seems to be no reason to actually keep her alive.
That's like one thing that like really confused me throughout the episode. Like they were killing some people and then they were like kidnapping them and doing basically nothing. They were putting them in pods, which I know apparently it was so they could keep the connection alive. And then Osgood said later on that they didn't need to do that anymore. So it was a bit, and it was kind of interesting as well that Osgood knew about the upgrade to the Zygons, yet it was kind of confusing. Like you could take it a few different ways.
Well, just kind of thinking about this now, and like I haven't really like looked into this, but with you saying that this could be like a different Osgood, what if it is a different Zygon Osgood and she was just saying that to the Doctor as a lie?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time, and maybe this is like the you could say prophecy. It's not that big that keeps coming back about the enemy being within the friend. Maybe it's just been prophesizing like the Zygon invasion.
It could be, because that kind of fits in with it as well. Like you don't know if this is like your real friend or not, so you've got to keep an eye on them, because they could turn on you if they do turn out to be an actual Zygon.
It just, and like, it's still decided you can't trust anyone, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get like another traitor, because it's kind of hinting that Kate's possibly a Zygon as well.
It is, it's kind of hinting that, but because we didn't actually like see her death on screen, then that kind of makes me think that maybe she's like managed to take out this Zygon and she's like just playing along with these plans. So I don't think she's actually dead. I think the person that we seen at the end of the episode speaking to Clara or Bonnie, then I think that's actual Kate and not Zygon Kate. What was your take on it?
Yeah, that's definitely like what I took from it. Originally I had to like think about what happened, because I thought maybe the Zygon was going to be Kate, but then that wouldn't make sense, because then they'd have to like say to Clara that they've eliminated Kate, but why it was confusing, but what I got from it was I think Kate maybe overpowered the Zygon, or maybe it was the Zygon Kate, because that's the thing as well. And it wasn't brought up. There's like two Kates knocking around somewhere. So I'm kind of thinking that this Kate overpowered the police woman, and now she's going to kind of infiltrate Bonnie and kind of act like a Zygon of her own, even if it is the human one, and do some undercover work.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of take that I've got on this as well. I think the fact that they now think that Kate's been taken over by the Zygon, then they're not going to be expecting that. So it's a good way that she can kind of infiltrate them and find out what's going on and maybe kind of save the day at the end of the day.
It'd be like, it's kind of like playing them at their own game as well, so it'd be like a great way to like shock the audience if that is what they're going to go with.
It is. It's like you don't know like if the person is really a Zygon, and it kind of spins it on its head because now the Zygons don't know if this is really a Zygon or if this is the actual person. So I think Kate's character is going to be a big one to actually like play a part in this next episode. And one of the reasons why I don't think she's kind of been killed off is, like I say, we didn't see it on the screen, and the way that she has become, like over the last sort of couple of series, is she is a big character, and I think if a big character was to die, then you would see them on screen. And I think that kind of takes us on to the next talking point, which is Clara really dead? Because she is someone that we didn't actually see die on screen either.
It was like really strange as well, because like everyone else, when they were shot by these Zygon rays or however they are, everyone else like turned to ashes and things, but for whatever reason they kept Clara around. So I'm guessing that they need Clara for something else later down the line, and maybe Bonnie was just saying that to like hurt the Doctor.
Yeah, I think so. I think like the Doctor being in that situation where it looked to be his kind of impending death, then she kind of just threw that in there anyway, just to sort of take a shot at him, I guess. But we know that Clara was in that pod underground, and I think she was kind of in there to get that sort of intel and sort of get the memories and things while the Doctor was still around, because Clara would kind of need them to play herself off as Clara in order to like fool the Doctor.
I think one thing that like, kind of like confused me a bit was when Bonnie, as Clara's down in the mines or whatever, with Jack and the rest of the unit soldiers, she kind of tells them to kill the humans, which to me didn't make much sense, because if they did need the link, then surely they'd need them alive. And if they didn't need them alive, why didn't they just kill them themselves?
Yeah, that was kind of one of them plot points where I didn't really get what they were going with. Because surely if they were finished with the humans, they could have just killed them off themselves. They didn't really need to lead them down there. It all seemed a bit of a waste of time. So I didn't really understand that. It just kind of felt a bit out of place, I guess.
I think it's all going to come back to down like who's worse. Maybe it was the Zygon's way of saying the humans were bad because they were the ones killing the other humans. I don't know. I think it's definitely going to be something like that comes back in part 2.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think in terms of the pods and the people in there, I think it is just a case of them keeping them alive anyway, just to get that intel. But once they don't need that anymore, they can kind of just get rid of them. Because we did see in the sort of episode with the soldiers, they've now got the ability to kind of take on the form of someone just based off on the memory. But when the soldier asked the mother to confirm like the date of birth and favourite toy or something, I think it was, then they didn't know any of that because they were just taken on from the memory. Whereas if they had the actual person in the pod, then they could delve into the memories and get that kind of information. So I think Clara's definitely been in there like just for that. I'm kind of wondering how much the Zygons now know about the Doctor, because of all these like memories that I've managed to pull from Clara. It's a kind of dangerous situation for the Doctor if you kind of think of all the things that Clara knows about him. She knows where the Tardis is, she's got a key to the Tardis, all them kind of things, and this Zygon one now should have access to that same information.
It's definitely like a really, really big threat. It's like we said earlier on, it's like out of nowhere kind of. They've come and they've invaded the UK, and like the Doctor's pretty much helpless. There's a rocket flying towards him, and he did say to the Zygon that like, you know who I am, don't you? And it's interesting because it's kind of for all it's like an imposing threat. It's like a whole new take on it.
It is. It's a completely new take on it. I think that's like the thing that I'm really enjoying the most. That it is so different. It's not kind of the same thing that we've seen in past episodes. So I'm really enjoying it for that reason. What did you make of the Zygon that says her name was Bonnie? Do you think there was anything in this? Because it kind of felt weird to me that they would say, you know, my name's Bonnie. I didn't get why that was in there.
Neither did I, especially, like, it wasn't a throwaway line, but she just, like, said it for God knows what reason. Like, I could kind of understand if later on there was, like, someone spoke to her and said, oh, well, my name's Bonnie. Mm-hmm. But it felt kind of, like, random. And it makes me kind of think, does she have a name because maybe she's a leader or something?
Yeah, well, that's the only thing I kind of get from it. Maybe it was, like, just to differentiate, like, real Clara and evil Clara, so we can call her Bonnie, and it kind of makes it easier to tell the two apart. But I guess in terms of the names, maybe when they're like set up on Earth and they've given like the place to live and the person they're going to be as, then they're like sort of given those names at the same time. But I think Bonnie, like the fact that they've named her, I think she's like a big character and kind of a leader with the Zygons. So do you think she's maybe the one that's in charge of the whole operation? Or do you think she's reporting to someone?
Well, you see her messing around with the phones, telling, like, units being wiped out and things, so I think she's maybe, like, a high level. The only other thing I can take away from her, like, having a name is because she's got the form of Clara, instead of saying she is Clara, like they have in the past, like, when someone's took them over, she's saying she's called Bonnie because she wants to be an individual and not a copy of someone else. And It's, like, another theme of, like, this freedom or whatever. Yeah,
that's a good take on it as well. I never really thought of it from that side. One other thing I was going to put here. We did get the reveal in the episode that Clara was a Zygon. Do you think that was the right thing to do? Or do you think it would have been better if they didn't reveal that and we're kind of left to guess what's going on with Clara?
It's a tough one because it made for like a really good cliffhanger, and as well you needed it kind of for her to shoot the rocket. Mm-hmm. But I can see, like, it did kind of feel out of place and they probably could have prolonged it a little bit more. But then if they did that, I think you'd lose some footage in the next episode when you do that. Whereas I think from the looks of, like, the trailer and whatnot, it looks like Bonnie's going to go off on, like, an adventure of her own and maybe terrorise the human population.
Yeah, I think so. I think my only kind of downside to it was I thought if they didn't reveal that and they kind of just, like, went through this whole Zygon episode where we only got like the one Clara, then they could have still replaced that at some point and we just never seen it. So then, like, going forward, we could get like Bonnie as Clara with the Doctor, and obviously we don't know about that going in these next couple of episodes, and it could kind of carry on from there. So I thought like that would have been a cool way to go with it. But at the same time, I can't really argue because I just love this like evil Clara in it. And just seeing her with the rocket launcher was such a cool moment.
Well, I've been saying for like weeks now that I want to see like an evil splinter of Clara, and this is probably the closest we're going to get because obviously she is leaving soon, and from the looks of like the synopsis from the rest of the episodes, I don't think we're going to get it. So it's kind of like the perfect opportunity without making like another character, because it's just a Zygon, and at the end of the day, that's like a monster taking on the form of someone else.
Yeah, it's kind of like given with that what we're kind of wanting. So I'm really happy with it. I think it is really cool. I love seeing this kind of side of Clara. It just makes us kind of sad that, you know, she's not staying longer and we're not going to get like a prolonged evil villain Clara. Because I would love to see like a full series where she's the kind of Missy character. She's the one that's like the main villain in the series. And the way that she acted, I think she really owns that evil Clara look. It's so like different. You can kind of tell the difference between the characters.
It's crazy because like, she only spoke like a few lines, but it was like you could kind of like make an entire story from it and get what you want. Like Jenna Coleman did it really, really well, and obviously we don't know how it's going to pan out. Moffat said that Clara's never going to be in Doctor Who again, but that doesn't mean Bonnie isn't. Maybe if the Osgood box does have like the human Zygon thing in it, maybe Bonnie will be good, and maybe there's going to be like I know it's not a splinter of Clara, but maybe Bonnie's going to be like around the world or something, and maybe she can come back later on.
Well, I think I'm just like so devastated at the fact that like Stephen Moffat's come out and said that we won't get Clara again. I'm devastated by the fact.
It's like really good. Like he never said he knows how to word things really good because he's never said Jenna Coleman's not coming back. He's just said Clara will never be back.
Yeah, so there's like other possibilities. We know she's splintered all across time, so there is the possibility she could come back in the future at some point. I'm kind of holding out hope for that. But as we mentioned, we're seeing sort of Clara, Bonnie, evil Clara, with that rocket launcher at the end of the episode. So she fired that up at the plane the Doctor was in. How do you see him getting out of this one? Is the Doctor going to escape?
I'm like really stumped for this one because God knows where the TARDIS is. I doubt the plane's going to have like armor or whatever. It's like a good one because in the past, like when we've had the Ghost Doctor, like you could kind of see where it was going, like he was going to be in the tomb or whatever. Mm-hmm. But with this one, I literally don't have a clue.
Could he maybe take it down with his sonic sunglasses?
I don't even know where they were. Maybe they were still smashed at this point.
Well, I think there's going to be something for it. I don't think he's going to die. I'm kind of fairly certain on that one. He did manage to escape the plane in the 50th when that was crashing. So maybe we could say the same kind of thing. You'll just like jump over it and skydive into the TARDIS with like some epic rock track playing. He'll probably play the guitars. He's like falling down to earth at the same time.
But you got to remember as well, Osgood died in a plane last time, so maybe she'll get the same fate again.
Well, that's quite ominous, isn't it? It's not looking good for Osgood, but I'm sure the Doctor being there, he'll be able to save her this time. He didn't save her last time, so he's got to make up for it, really.
Yeah, it's kind of his duty. He needs to save someone because God only knows. Like, nearly everyone's died this series. We've had O'Donnell, we've had possibly Jack, who died in the mines. We've had, like, a lot of deaths, so surely Moffat wouldn't wind the fence up even more and kill Osgood off yet again.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, like we've got in the previous episode, you know, he is the Doctor and he saves people. So let's hope he saves Osgood.
He's not really sticking by that motto anymore. It's like, he'll save people if he can.
if he can, if it's not too much hassle. But hopefully he can get round to it this time. So that kind of brings us to the end of this episode. But let us know your thoughts on the episode itself and all of the talking points that we've discussed. So is Osgood human or Zygon? Is Kate human or Zygon? And is Clara really dead? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, or you can get in touch with us via Twitter at TARDIS_talk. So make sure to let us know what you think, as we'll look forward to hearing your thoughts. But until next time.
See you later.